All right, it looks like we are live.
Good evening.
Hello, hello. It's been a while since I've done one of these Be Lives actually, so it's
I've never done one of these videos, so this is the first
they're
for
really
me.
fun.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they're
So,
really fun.
woo!
Okay. I don't know if you can see if we're live on your phone via Facebook profile or
Let me have a
something.
quick look because I'm figuring most people sort of
Oh
pop
yeah,
in.
we've got people online. Cool. All
Oh yeah.
right. Hi everyone.
Good
um
evening. How are you doing? Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, I don't think
Happy
exactly who's online,
Sunday.
but there's two people online. So hello, good evening, and welcome to our joint Facebook Live for the evening.
We
We
finally
decided to
managed to
jump on.
coordinate our diaries, and we're
What's
here.
that?
We finally managed to coordinate our diaries, and we're
We did
here.
finally manage to coordinate our diaries on a Sunday evening at like 10 o'clock.
I know. Do you know what? This is my bedtime, you know. My alarm went off 10 minutes ago telling me I need to go to bed, you know. I'm doing this whole self-care thing. But we'll stay up a bit.
Cool. All right, cool. So, for those of you who don't know Caroline, Caroline is somebody that I am collaborating with on a couple of projects coming up. And she is a yoga teacher, among many other things. And she is also known as the Queen of Alignment. So, I thought she would be brilliant to bring on this evening to talk about the topic of alignment
Oh
and what
God.
it means maybe for each of us, for you. And yeah, I don't know. Would you like to add anything else to that, Caroline?
Yeah, I think it's important to be aligned with your true self. And I guess for me, the reason I call myself Queen of Alignment is because when I'm teaching, I'm really big on alignment on the physical front, but also on the spiritual side and the emotional side as well. And really just tapping in and being really in tune with yourself and knowing what is going on in your system and just really being aware of everything. Because a lot of times we're so busy rushing around, we don't have time to stop and breathe. And we realize that actually we're completely out of alignment when all it takes is a little bit of a shift and maybe just that stopping to breathe. So I guess that's what I tend to do for people. I give them the space to do that when they come to practice with me.
How what's the link between physical and spiritual alignment for you?
For me, well, I guess in yoga, we always say that the any blockages in the mind are manifest in the body, and there's a very big link in it. So, for example, someone will come to me and sort of say, "Oh, I have a bad back. Is there anything you can suggest? Any postures?" Or they might say, "Oh, my shoulders are really tight." So my first question generally of the back, for example, is, what kind of job do you do? Do you spend a lot of time standing or seated? Because standing for long periods of time, as well as sitting for long periods of time, are going to affect your back. And maybe it's because they're not aware of their core and not engaging that enough. But also in terms of back issues, actually one of my students has experienced something like this currently, where we don't feel supported either by life or by friends, family, partners, or it might be at work. Maybe you're having to do so much in a particular role that you're feeling quite overwhelmed and unsupported by your colleagues. So it ends up sort of kind of working its way through your body into the back, because your back is like your backbone, that's your support system. So if you're not feeling supported by life, or at least not having that awareness that actually life is always supporting you regardless of what you do, but you're not aware of that, then you feel a bit misaligned, and you're going to feel those aches and pains. Or with the shoulders, generally, my first question is, what job do you do? And do you have a lot on your plate? Is it busy? Are you having to do a lot of the stuff yourself? And then it's a case of, right, can you delegate, or what's happening? Or is it that it just happens to be particularly busy at this time of the year or something like that? And if you think of it that way, then it's like, oh, actually, it kind of ends up there. These old wives' tales, all these statements that you people make, they come from somewhere. So, if you see someone who's kind of got sore shoulders, or they're kind of like, well, and they say, oh my God, you look like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders. That comes from somewhere. So you've got this weight sitting there, and therefore it's that oh, you got the droop, the energy's low, and everything's kind of connected. So for me, it's a case of being aware of what's happening physically, because sometimes you can't always access it from the mental side of things or the spiritual side of things. And for some people, the whole spiritual side of things is a bit woo-woo, and they don't want to go down that route. So for me, it's like, right, okay, fine. You give me your body, we'll do the work. And regardless of what happens, I'm going to do my very best to make sure that you feel better by the time you're done and you leave your class with me, basically. So yeah, physical, mind, body, it's all kind of connected.
That was great, because actually my very next question was going to be which comes first in terms of the chicken or the egg thing.
It is literally chicken or egg. It could be either. There's certain things you can do where you're like, oh my god, this is like I don't know, prime example, something like the pigeon pose. If anyone knows what pigeon is, I'll probably get Liv to put a link down below. But it's one of those where a lot of people don't.
I was just thinking
it.
You could like just get up and demonstrate.
Yeah, it's not happening. I could, but yeah, I have to lift it. Yeah. Anyway, I will post a picture of myself doing the pigeon. I think I got and basically people will sit into the pigeon, and a lot of the times they will. It's really weird if you sit in it long enough. Sometimes, depending on what you've got going on, you start feeling like you're shaking, like there's this shake, and you're like, but you're not moving physically. Like literally, I say to you, I say, look, you're feeling like you're really shaking. And somebody go, yeah, I do. I'm just going to tell you now, from the outside looking at you, you're not shaking. But obviously something inside is going on, and you are doing something and you're processing. So, we're coming at it from the physical side, doing a little, getting around in there and working on the mental and spiritual. I've cried in pigeon 1,000 times, and I love it.
Wow.
I really don't mind crying in my practice, because I know that for me, that's unblocking, releasing a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So if I get tears in class from someone, I'm like, yeah, it's fine, let it out.
Wow.
Because you're obviously holding on to something. I've had grown men cry in class in particular poses, and crying because they literally, you can feel the pain that's coming out. And I'm not talking the physical stuff. It's the stuff that's like you're getting deep down. When you process that, release it, and say, okay, here I am. And there's this really wonderful kind of quietness that you get after that. If you have tears in a yoga class, it's a really special thing. So if you've ever experienced it,
I'm just trying to think now, actually, if I've ever cried in a yoga class. I mean, generally I've had an interesting relationship with crying in general, right? But in recent years, let me think. You know what, the only pose that comes to mind in terms of causing any kind of reaction I can remember was probably the is it the camel pose, when you're like the back bend?
Really?
Okay. Yeah, I find that brings up a lot.
Well, camel pose as well, that's in your back, and then you're opening your chest. So you're like open. I always say with back bends, if you think of when people are like scared or afraid or nervous and stuff, what's the first thing they do? They want to get small, right? They hunch down, everything's like closed off. You want to like bring it in. So when you're doing that, it's like this amazing expansion, but it's a bit scary, because when you're opening your chest in camel pose, your hands are on your heels. You're literally, if someone were to come up to you and like, attack you or something, there's nothing you can do. So it really brings up an element of bravery, an element of courage. And also remember that courage, bravery, is not the absence of fear. It's actually being able to do whatever you need to do, despite feeling the fear. There's that woman who wrote that book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. You just have to. You've read it, haven't you?
I bought it when I was in secondary school, but I've never actually read it. I've got it on my shelf. I've never read it. Yeah. I've just lived my life that way.
Exactly. And you're telling people about the whole fear factor thing anyway. So come on, girl. But
yeah. But you know what's really interesting? I didn't realize that when you started talking about the camel pose and being open, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense then. It's being open, being vulnerable to like attack, right? From a physical perspective. But that, and it makes sense. I mean, that's the biggest one in terms of yoga, in terms of poses. It's the biggest one that I can remember having an actual reaction to. Interesting. Okay, so going back to the subject of alignment, like what does alignment mean to you when you're talking in life in general, not just physically?
Life in
But
general, well, I don't know. It's a funny one, that one. I was thinking about this. I was actually just doing a little post for my Instagram. Let me just find it. I literally wrote this out. So I'm about to post it, but basically it's talking about my trip to India, my first one, when I did my first um, teacher training. So I did my 200-hour teacher training in 2014, but I'd done like a foundation course for 6 months here in London anyway. And I was remembering actually that my boss actually paid for half, she paid half the money for my foundation course, which is amazing. And I was actually thinking about this, and I thought, my God, I don't think I would have ever done that course if she hadn't paid for that. So I was really lucky. They were amazing, really good to me. And I worked for them for 5 years. But if I think about like my career in terms of, I don't know, I wouldn't even call it a career. I just somehow fell into doing admin for 18 years. When I look back, I worked at a lighting company, facilities management, architectural firm, and then this plastic surgeons, which is the last one that it's my last sort of, well, second to last office job. And I remember deciding that I was going to go and do this course. And I agonized for ages because I was like, oh my God, should I do it? The 200-hour, because that involved going to India. And I said, right, where's the birthplace of yoga? India. Okay, great. Where in India? Rishikesh. Okay, I'm going there. And it's weird because I've never traveled really properly. So I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was just like, all right, I'm going to do this. And it's so funny because the emails that went back and forth between me and the school, I don't know how I found them particularly, but somehow they were the right people because I'm still friends with a couple of the guys off the course even to this day. One of them lives in London, in West London, so she's a good friend of mine. And I basically I ended up handing in my notice. I was like, okay, it's fine. Been here 5 years. I'm tired of sitting at a desk. I'm going to go do this. And then my bosses were like, oh my God, you're leaving. They were not happy at all. And I said, look, because I wanted 7 weeks. And I knew, I said, look, I can't expect you to hold my job. That's a long period of time. In the end, they did ask me to come back. I'm really glad I did because obviously they're amazing. But so I've gone away, done my course. I remember every day getting up, excited, energized, singing all the time. And I've discovered apparently I sing all the time anyway, but I'm more aware of it now than I was before. But I remember actually singing out loud and just being really chilled. And it just felt so easy. Getting up early was fine, and it felt good. And for me, that's what alignment feels like. It's just effortless effort. And so I did my 4-week course, right? So I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. So I did my British Wheel of Yoga teacher training here, my 6-month foundation course. My teacher on that course was amazing. Absolutely love her. She's so wonderful. She's got like Qigong, yoga, and loads of I learned so much from her. And I remember thinking, I hadn't been to her class for a while, and I went to India, and I kept thinking to myself, gosh, it'd be really lovely if I could tell Jane that I did my teacher training. I kept thinking this, right? So 3 weeks after the course, after we travelled around after the 4 weeks, so we went all the way up to the Taj Mahal, we went to Darjeeling, we went up into the mountains and Sandakphu. And I remember sitting up on this mountain. It took us a whole day to drive up there. We didn't know how we were going to get up there. It wasn't even planned. It was so last minute. And my friend wanted to go up to the mountains. I wanted to go south to Kerala. So we said, okay, fine, we'll do both and we'll agree on it. So we went up into the mountains and I sat atop this mountain. It's at 5 o'clock in the morning and I watched the sunrise come up. And I kid you not, I'm just standing there going to myself, oh my God, I'm going to call my boss Sarah. That's not her real name, but all the angst and irritation that I got from Sarah throughout the time period before I left was worth me standing right here, right now, staring at this sunrise. It was one of the most epic things I've ever seen. That was really amazing. But yeah, anyway, from there we went down into Varanasi, we went to Kerala, to Cochin, then finally got to Goa. So I'm in Goa. I met my friend who's also a teacher. She'd been doing some training there. It's really lovely to see her. So, and then literally, I think I got like a day, an evening with her. She had to fly out the next day. I ended up actually being on like a commercial, an Indian commercial for like crock pot. So somewhere in the world, there's a video of me doing that. But I literally, I was walking along to get some breakfast at this, resort, and all I heard was Caroline. I looked around. Guess who it was? it was Jane, my teacher. And I was like, of all places that I met her here in India at this particular spot, it was amazing. So that was really nice. So I got she actually was my very first teacher, and no, my very first student, should I say. So I taught her like, and I was so petrified. I thought, oh my God, I can't believe I don't have to teach her. I don't know anything. And she's like, it's fine. And she gave me some really great feedback, which to this day I still use, which is amazing. Realizing
so going back, yeah. So going back to what alignment feels like.
Yeah,
You're mentioning.
wait for it. It's coming. I'm taking a long time to get there. Give me a second. So that was
everyone.
But listen, the whole point is everything was lining up. Everything lined up beautifully. But then, even aside from that, so I came back. I've done my amazing trip, and I've come back and literally started teaching straight away. And then so I'm working at my boss's, the offices, still in the plastic surgeons. And then after a few months, I was like, no, this don't feel right. It just didn't feel right. And then I think at the end of, after 6 months, handing my notice, like properly this time, I said, look, I'm definitely going, and I went traveling for like 10 months. But the thing that I realized was when I was teaching, I just felt it just was easy. All that alignment, everything was like pat, pat, pat. This, I always say there's no such thing as coincidences, but everything was lining up, meeting Jane, being in all these different places and everything just lining up. Effortless effort. It all felt so easy. And then coming back, trying to put myself, you got this square, like round hole, and then all of a sudden I've become this square peg and I couldn't fit in there. So working in this office didn't feel right for me. So that was like, okay, fine, I'm going to teach. I'm just going to do that. I went traveling and da-da-da. And so there's no way I could ever work in an office again. It just doesn't feel right. It's like trying to put on another skin that doesn't feel right. So for me, alignment is about where everything, you're aligned because everything just starts fitting, everything starts aligning, everything you need comes into play when you need it. And it's just like, bam, oh, wow, okay, bam. The thing you need, the person you need to meet, it doesn't always happen on your timetable. That's the thing you have to remember. So even for, my business and stuff, it's been challenging. But slowly, when I kind of ease off and just back up a bit, it's like, wait, if I look, I'm meeting the certain right people at the right time. Everything starts aligning. And if it's not feeling right, it's probably not quite right for you. And, maybe you're slightly off.
How would you tell people who are less in tune with how they feel? Like, are there ways that you would suggest in which people can kind of have more of that awareness? Because so how would you recognize it? Like, if you're not somebody who practices yoga or spiritual in any way, and you're just like standard, like Joe Bloggs, how would you recognize that?
It's a tricky one because a lot of people say, oh, meditate, which I think is great. Meditate is good. Some people say, I don't have time to meditate. Or they say, meditate for 10 minutes every day. I don't have time to meditate. Okay, in that case, you need to meditate for an hour. I think the Dalai Lama said that.
I've heard that one.
But I think that meditation can come in many forms. It could be a case of, for some people, sitting still works for them. For other people, it's putting on your favorite tune and just going crazy, dancing away, and then calming down and sitting still and just seeing what thoughts come up. For some people, it's going for a swim because they get that nice quiet zone out. For others, it's going for a run. For somebody else, it's walking in the woods and really being aware of each step you take. Or for other people, it could be just taking a breath in and following the breath in and out. But the thing to remember most importantly for meditation is, you hear people saying, clear your mind of all thoughts. That don't work. We have a monkey mind. It's full of crap. It's all whizzing around, You look at one thing and somehow you've got to like 10,000 other thoughts. You're way over here. When you got that, it's like, don't worry. The thoughts are going to come and go. Your job is to just be the observer, to back up and just see what flits around. Because some of those thoughts might actually be really important and might be
or useful. Actually, found it's sometimes it's when you slow down enough that you have the answers come to you.
Exactly.
In a way,
it might just be as simple as yoga nidra again, which is another meditation that I do. And then there's a guy called Tom Burlow. I don't know if you've heard of him. Really cool guy. I can't remember he does this really great like not podcast video thing on YouTube. Really amazing guy. And he was saying what he does, and actually one other person. I think it's him. Okay, never mind. Anyway, forget names. My point is, what he does, he sits with his laptop or a notepad, and then he sits and he just kind of sits and he kind of zones in and out. And he literally sort of has a bit of a quiet time. I don't know if it's news or whatever, but really he has a notepad ready. So any interesting thoughts that come up, he just jots them down straight away. And then it's like, oh, you've got these great ideas that come up. Another thing that you could do as well, if you like writing, first thing in the morning when you wake up, have your water or whatever, and instead of necessarily sitting to meditate, get a notepad, pen, just write down whatever thoughts come up. Just write stuff down. Because half the time, the reason we get so bogged down is because we're full of too much nonsense in our heads, and it is too much, and you just need to have a moment of clarity and clearness. And I've given loads of different examples there, but the point is there is no one size fits all. We are all so different, so unique. I've tried pretty much all of those things that I've mentioned, and they've all been useful in their own different ways.
Yeah,
I like meditating sometimes. Sometimes I just want to get my notepad and jot down whatever thoughts come up. I'll literally set a timer and I say, right, for 1 minute, I'm just going to write something about, I don't know, you can pick a word. It can maybe even be a random one. You can like make a few, cut some up, write some words on, put them in a pot, pull one out, say, okay. So I've got one where it's like honesty or fear, love. And then you just write down whatever that means to you. And you'd be surprised what comes up sometimes. It's so interesting.
Yeah, I do a lot of free writing where I just let whatever comes out, and it's sometimes so random, like some of the links like the brain makes, but it's great. It's like it is a form of meditation because I'm just letting the words come out. I guess it's probably a form of like channeling for people who know what that is. And it's really great because some of the things that come out, I'm just like, whoa, when you read them back or when you look back at them like a few days later, you're like, where did that come from?
Yeah, and you might even forget you wrote that. You kind of go, oh, say what? Okay, fine. It is what it is. Yeah. That's true.
I think also that on the flip side, which is something I'll talk about more on probably on Tuesday, is what being out of alignment feels like, as well as being in alignment. So I think everyone has experience of, feeling that like flow state, when things just feel easy, when things are just moving, when all, things are just lining up perfectly, the right people are coming along, the right opportunities are coming your way. And everything just feels light and easy. And I think another way we can define alignment is what it's not.
Exactly.
As well. So what are some ways that you're not in alignment? So when you're just looking at, if we go away from purely feelings, what other signs do you think there are to know that we're not in alignment right now?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Aside from the thing is, I work a lot on feelings because I'm very much like, wait, this doesn't feel quite right. How, do I feel okay? No, I don't. And if we're out of tune, which as you say, but I'm thinking other ways of recognizing it is, or
maybe just really simple stuff like, so still, I guess, around the area of feelings, but it's like things like feeling tired or feeling exhausted and feeling drained. And you're like, but I haven't really even done much, Why am I so tired?
Well, when you're doing something that doesn't make your heart sing, it's going to drain you. Another thing to be aware of as well is when you're around certain people, how do you feel? Because sometimes you don't realize there are certain people you're around and all of a sudden your energy just drops and you're like, oh boy, okay. And then that awareness as well, because, it's not just about alignment with jobs and everything like that. It's also the kind of people you spend your time with. The input that you have into your system is not just the food you eat, it's the people that you're around, it's what you read. So I think it's important to also be aware of that. I guess the thing is, you just have to tap in and see what's going on in your system. That's the key thing. That's what I teach every time in my classes. So on Tuesday, for example, what we're doing is I'm literally getting you super quiet, so tuned into yourself, so that by the time Liv jumps in and does her magic, you're going to be pretty much open and zone in, in a zone where you can then kind of work out, okay, what's working for me, what isn't, right? I'm doing really amazing in my career, but maybe not everything's quite working right. And then just, doing that, tapping in. And obviously, Liv, you can say more about that, but my job is literally to just kind of open them up to feeling more connected with themselves, because half the time we forget those things, and so I work very much on feelings. So I know it's really hard to kind of think of alternatives, but I feel like your feelings are your kind of barometer. Because if there's something not feel right, it's like your gut feeling when you think, oh, I really should do that, or I should move this. I remember the other day I was walking home and walked past these two kids, and I had my laptop hooked, hooked over my shoulder. So it was, if anyone's going to pull it, then it can't. Had another bag and literally looped it over, and I had my phone in my hand, and then just this gut feel. I had this feeling. It was really tiny, but I put my phone away. So I put it down in my pocket, held my bag tighter, and across the road walked along. And then literally not 5 minutes later, they cycled past the guy in front of me, ripped off his headphones and stole them and cycled past. And his glasses went flying, and that was like, that could have been me. So
yeah, sometimes it'd be weird things that it's like get off the train and stop early, or things like that I've done in the past. I'm just like, why did I do that? And then you find out something weird.
Or you bump into somebody you were supposed to bump into, and you're like, oh my god, snap. Or you meet someone, you think, I don't know why I'm meeting you just yet, but I know there's a reason somewhere. And I say that to people all the time. I say, I think you're really amazing. I don't know why we're meeting just yet, but somewhere along the way it's going to become very obvious. So hey, nice
but that happens. Yeah, that happens all the time. Yeah. Going back to the people though, I think that part's really interesting because I used to be somebody who used to kind of absorb energy from people very, very, very easily. And I think anyone who's listening, who's like an empath, intuitive, will understand what that is like. There was a point where there was so much work I was doing to kind of open up that I couldn't be in crowded environments anymore. And that's when I kind of got more into the spiritual side of things, because I was just like, I don't necessarily really believe in all this stuff, but I'll try anything right now, because it's gotten to a point where I'm literally picking up everything from everyone, and it's just overwhelming. But recently I've learned to really what's really interesting is some of you will know I've kind of started my own kind of healing practice, as in practicing as a healer. And what's really great about that is I've learned to not absorb stuff from people, and I'm able to just be able to be with them and listen to them and hold the space, but I don't take it on anymore. And I think so there's probably two things here to mention. One is around being responsible for looking after yourself, and then there's recognizing when there are people who are generally quite negative and are going to bring the vibration and the energy down all the time. Those people that you see all the time that really just drain you completely.
Vampires.
Yeah. Or the people that spend some time with you, and then all of a sudden they're flying and high on life, and you're just and then you're feeling really crap. Yeah. So that's definitely an easy way of telling whether you're aligned around your environment and your people.
I've eliminated quite a lot of those people, so it makes life easier.
What's that?
Not on purpose, it just kind of happened. I've eliminated a lot of those people out of my life, and it wasn't something where it was a conscious thing, but you just find over time that actually you spend and gravitate more time with those people who are a lot nicer to be around, basically. So yeah,
it's that whole like attracts like, right? Your energy attracts similar kinds of energy, so whatever doesn't work kind of eventually moves out of the way sometimes. Yeah.
Definitely.
So, and I think the more aligned you are, the more that happens naturally.
Yeah,
it becomes less of an effort to consciously remove people. I think it just falls away quite naturally and easily.
Yeah, that's very true. But you haven't told us what alignment means for you.
What does it mean for me? What it means for me is interesting, actually. I'm coming at this one from nothing again, because I like, you know, it means so many things to me. The first thing that comes to mind is being out of my head and into my body. And what that means is I'm not overthinking things. I'm not analyzing stuff. My default is to go into like intellectual mode and to make sense of everything and get all these great insights. And what alignment is for me is being fully present in the moment, and everything just feels clear. Everything feels easy, and I have a sense of trust in myself, and trust in like the circumstances, even if they're not great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, trust is definitely a big thing. Faith or belief, something that everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I always say to my students, and actually, I believe this wholly, that life is going to happen regardless of what you do. It's going to happen. The universal law of nature is that everything is always changing anyway. So it's up to you to decide how you show up.
Yeah.
Showing up ready to, do your thing, or you're going to sit there and complain about everything. And when actually, if you trust that it's going to be okay and everything's working out, you know what? It does eventually.
And I think also an easy way of getting into alignment for me is looking for the lessons. Looking for the lessons in everything. So however bad things are, however bad things get, always recognizing and asking yourself, like, what's the lesson in this? Because there always is one. And if you were to think back to all those times in your life when like shit has hit the fan, or things just haven't been great, there's always something that you can take out of those situations. And so that's where the trust comes from, like being able to look back and knowing that it all ended up perfectly in the end. Yeah.
Well, the saying, silver lining comes from somewhere.
Where's it come from?
I have no idea, but everything has a silver lining and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also there's something around when you are able to do that, you shift your energy, your state. You shift your energetic state. And when also something that people talk about a lot is gratefulness. When you're able to find things to be grateful for, you're more likely to shift your state into a level, into like, I believe in like energy and vibration and stuff like that. And when you shift your state, I do believe you come back into alignment quicker.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've done actual research around people sitting meditating on gratitude, and they've seen like the brainwaves change when doing that. So it's really interesting stuff.
Yeah. And also, I think the big one, like, I guess one of the big ones that's really there for me right now is joy. Like, what brings me joy is something I ask myself all the time. And that's also a really quick way of getting yourself into alignment. What are the things that really light you up and get you excited? And I'm not just talking about like, or maybe it's like food, right? I'm not just talking about like, oh, this nice new shiny thing. I'm talking about what like are some of the things that you do, or that like what are the things that bring you joy basically in life. Yeah.
True.
And for me, it's like being out in nature and being connected with the environment. That's when I feel like really alive and aligned in life. I think we've been on for over half an hour now, so
good time.
It is bedtime. Bedtime. All right. Well, if you have any questions for us around the subject of alignment, and it's actually a really fun topic. It's a really fun one to explore, and in terms of my personal interests around, as some of you may have seen, I'm really interested in combining the physical, kind of the mind, body, soul, like together. And the reason why we've designed the workshop on Tuesday, so for those of you who haven't seen, we're running a workshop together on Wednesday around Tuesday afternoon around the topic of alignment over in Surrey Keys. For those of you who are around and would love to come along, drop us a line and let us know. But the reason why the format of my workshops, I think, has been quite similar for the last few is because I really do believe that by physically moving first and dropping into your body, it really allows you to work through things faster. When you eventually go into more of the deep work, the masterminding, the ideas, the, if it's coaching related, whatever it is you want to work on, if you start with the movement first, I really do believe that that helps to speed up the process and open up like all those creative juices and all the channels. Yeah. So that's why this has been designed in the way it has. And yeah, really, really excited to be collaborating with you on this one as well, Caroline. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, and I think so. I'm looking forward to it, actually. And then obviously we've got South Africa in May.
Yes.
Looking forward to that.
And our adventure. Yeah.
Definitely. More nature. So yeah, it's been really great actually talking about the topic, because I don't think I've spoken about it in this much in depth. But yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to getting you guys moving, getting you sweating a little bit. You might want to kill me at times, but I promise you, you are definitely going to leave feeling lighter, brighter, more energized than you were when you were right, and with a lot more clarity. And hopefully at the same time, you're going to have a little action plan, a few steps that you can go away and execute in your life, your business, whatever sort of area that you decide you're going to work on.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you for watching. For those of you who did jump on, and for those of you who are watching on catch up, thank you. If you have any questions for us, or any comments, or any thoughts, and anything we've spoken about, and what alignment means to you, it'd be great to have your comments in the boxes below, and we will be seeing you around.
Nice.
All right. Have a great week, guys. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.